KC, are you there?
I'm here.
You're here?
You made me yawn. You know, it's funny too, because when I play this back, like when it's premiering and I'm watching it or listening to it, I always yawn when you do that.
Fun fact, I fake yawned at first, and then I made myself yawn in the middle of my fake yawn.
Is that why it was so long?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so are we ready to get back to more story in the Bible?
I am ready, I guess.
Yeah. All right, so today we're kind of jumping out of sync, at least with how the Bible is structured, but we're still in chronological order.
Yes.
Because if you guys don't know, we're doing the Daily Bible, which goes chronologically through time with the story of the Old Testament and the the Bible in general.
Yeah, and this actually dates us in time.
Right.
So, I mean, I didn't actually talk to you about that, but it gives us dates in time.
Oh, yeah. I know. I've got the digital copy, and so sometimes I take a look.
Okay.
And so I think today we're in like 780 BC or something like that.
Yeah. Sometime around then is when we are in time right now.
Right. So today is the story of Jonah.
Yes.
Yes. Y'all ready to get swallowed by a whale? Or fish whale?
It's a great fish.
It's a big fish that's got a 15-foot penis.
Well, it might be a fish because whales have a 10-foot penis.
Yeah, I know. All right, so if you guys are ready for the tale of Jonah, which I don't know if you guys have recently read the tale of Jonah, but it's pretty fucked up. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so Jonah receives a booty call from Nineveh, but is actually a one-night stand that got pregnant. So what he does is he hops the first ferry out of that place in Joppa. God sees Jonah reneging on this one-nighter who he got pregnant, and so he transforms into Poseidon and fucks with the ferry. And that's like ferry is in a boat that, not like he doesn't fuck a ferry. Anyways, I've been watching True Blood.
Yeah, when he says ferry, he's not using a pejorative.
No. I'm thinking like literal
like
wings and
yeah.
There you go. So everyone on the boat was scared shitless, and Jonah decides to go and take a nap down in the bottom of the ship. I mean, storms a rockin', don't come a knockin', or something. Anyways, the boys on the ship decide to draw straws as a way to place blame on whoever draws the shortest straw. Since Jonah wasn't there, he obviously gets the shortest straw by default. So, since Jonah was the one that is the problem that caused the shitstorm, they interrogated him, much like Jack Bauer does. In the midst of their interrogation, with light shining on Jonah in the bottom of the ship, he revealed that apparently he was supposed to go to Nineveh to take care of this one-night stand that he had, and he reneged on that and caused God to get all pissed off. So they tossed his ass overboard. Then a giant fish swallows Jonah, where he then stayed for 3 days and 3 nights while he sucked God's dick. Well, you see, the fish was a really big bigot and didn't like the Hebrew being inside him, so he vomited him out. And God told his ass to get him to get it to Nineveh. Jonah gets drunk on the way there, and then drunkenly runs around the streets proclaiming that God is going to destroy all of them in 40 days. I'm guessing that this is a way to get out of the whole baby mama situation. But upon hearing this, the entire city shits themselves. They strip naked and then dress in potato bags because they didn't have any other clothes. They shit their other clothes. God then gets aroused over all this, and so he decides not to shit fire on them from heaven. Jonah was like, what the fuck, man? He had a perfect plan for getting out of this whole one-night stand pregnancy thing, and then God has to go and fuck it up. So Jonah tries this whole dramatic thing, and for some reason he decides that his life is worthless now. I'm guessing it's because he's got to take care of a kid for the rest of his life, or at least 18 years. I don't know what it is for Hebrews. Jonah then went into hiding because he didn't want to take care of the kid, and he watched the city. I'm guessing to see if the baby mama left. Basically, he was creepily hiding in the bushes outside the city. God then grew a garden for Jonah, but then God also took the garden away from him because fuck Jonah. It was like a punking kind of thing. Anyways, now Jonah wants to die again for the same reasons. God gets pissed because Jonah cares not for the dumbasses in the city. I don't know how that got brought up, but apparently they're all dumbasses in the city. And then meanwhile in Israel, Israel takes Judah because they lost it in a trivia night at the local tabernacle. The end.
That was so ridiculous.
I like how you're laughing and then you go serious like it's ridiculous.
That was so ridiculous.
But correct.
No. Oh, no. There was no one night stand or pregnancy or bingo night or trivia night.
Did he at least go to Maury?
No.
To get a baby test?
No. There's no baby.
Can you imagine Maury at that time talking to the crowd being like, and the survey says you're the father. And he's like, oh, fuck. And then he runs out, hides it in wherever the fuck he hid. Anyways.
Yeah.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.
What's up, heathens?
How y'all doing?
So you guys ready for getting corrected on Bible stuff? Because
I'm definitely ready.
Wrong.
Yeah, I'm ready.
You got your notes handy?
I mean, I don't need notes. I have the Bible.
Oh, you've got the Bible, the thing that Trump practices every single day of his presidency?
Right.
Did you know that he was chosen by God?
I had heard that.
He is the chosen one.
I had heard that.
He's Neo.
I had heard something similar. Not Neo, but Jesus. I've heard that.
He's also a king.
I've also heard that.
It's not just 4 years of Trump. It'll be an eternity.
That just saying that, you just saying that caused me anxiety. So are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
So
we're starting off with Jonah.
Yeah, today we're doing the whole book of Jonah today.
Right.
Okay, so it's only 4 chapters, right? I think 4 chapters in the book of Jonah.
4 chapters.
So we're going to do the whole book of Jonah today. It's really not that long.
Yeah, so also there's a lot of connections with Jesus in the Jonah story.
Yes.
And I'm going to be providing that commentary. And so I will I'll try to mention those as they come up.
Okay, perfect. So we're just going to jump right in here. Jonah chapter 1. The word of the Lord came to Jonah, son of I forgot to look up this name. Amittai,
Amidity. There you go.
Amitati. I like that one better. Amitati. It's not it. That's not how you say it. I don't remember. Anyway, the word of the Lord came to Jonah. Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it because its wickedness has come up before me.
Oh, this is crazy. So it starts off with a signature phrase that indicates a visit from Jesus.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, the very first part there. The word of the Lord came to Jonah. Mm-hmm. Generally, when it talks about the word of the Lord coming to Jonah in this fashion, it's talking about Jesus visiting, like the angel of the Lord visiting, because he is the word of God.
Right. Instead of listening, right, Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish, which Tarshish is an ancient city that is in which is now modern day southern Spain.
I mean, that name sounds painful to even say. Tarshish. But just imagine Jonah gets like a visit from Jesus, and then he's like, oh, you got to go to Tarshish, or you got to go to Nineveh. And he's like, fuck no, I'm running away to Tarshish. And then he runs away and he's got his fingers in his ear and he's like, la, 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 I'm going to Tarshish.
It's in southern Spain. That's where Jonah wants to go. That's where he's running away to. So he went down to Joppa, which is a port in West Israel on the Mediterranean, which it's now part of Tel Aviv. So he goes there instead of going to Nineveh, and Nineveh is what is in modern day Iraq. So, I mean, I'd rather go to South Spain than Iraq, right?
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. So he found a ship bound for that port. After paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord. Then the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, and such a violent storm arose that the ship threatened to break up. All the sailors were afraid, and each cried out to his own God. And they threw the cargo into the sea to lighten the ship. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But Jonah had gone below deck, where he lay down and fell into a deep sleep. The captain went to him and said, "How can you sleep? Get up and call on your God. Maybe he will take notice of us and we will not perish." Then the sailors said to each other, "Come, let us cast lots to find out who is responsible for this calamity." They cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah.
Okay, so now this particular portion right here, there's a lot of connection with Jesus in the New Testament stuff, Mark and specifically Mark and Matthew. Okay, so this particular part right here, where the captain comes to him and tells him these things, is used for a couple of situations in the New Testament, namely the Garden of Gethsemane, whatever. When the captain comes and tells Jonah, get up, pray to your God that you won't perish, that kind of thing. That's the whole prayer type thing, which I think is the prayer thing comes here in a minute, but that right there is similar to the prayer that's told in the Garden of Gethsemane. Okay. With the exception, just the fact that he prays to God is what's similar here. But the part where he's like, "Are you sleeping? Get up and pray to God," or whatever like that. The get up part is the exact same like verbiage and everything like that is used when Jesus gets done praying and he goes to the disciples and he's like, "Are you sleeping? Get up." They are deeply coupled together through a verbiage that's used, and that's how you can connect them together.
It's interesting because Christian apologists and they use this. They see and teach a lot of connections between Jesus and Jonah also. So this is not just like a you thing.
Right.
This is actually taught in Christian scholarship.
Right. And then I think we're about to get more into the water bit, but if you guys don't know, Jesus is a water bender. He can control water. And we know that he's a water bender through Psalm 106.
Okay.
That is that's where it's kind of given Psalm 106 and 107, 25 through 30. It gives us an indication as to God's control over water. And so we'll talk more about that here in a minute.
Well, and Jesus also walks on water and calms it in a storm.
Yes, there is actually a Buddhist portion of that's very interesting.
Okay.
And we'll get to there in a minute.
So let's go back to where we actually are in the story here. Right. So it says, "Come, let us cast lots to find out who is responsible for this calamity." If any of you don't know, casting lots is a way to randomly, without bias, figure out or select a person, basically. It's a like drawing straws. Or rolling a dice. Okay.
Rolling a what?
Rolling a die, like rolling dice.
I know.
Or drawing straws. It's a completely random way to select a person. Okay, so they're doing this, I guess, assuming that some sort of magical power is going to make sure that the person responsible for the storm gets the short straw, right? So, surprisingly enough to everyone, the lot fell on Jonah. So the sailors, let's just go ahead and instead of summarizing, I'll just read it to you. So they asked him, "Tell us who is responsible for making all this trouble for us. What do you do? Where do you come from? What is your country? From what people are you?" So they're kind of all on top of him. Like, why is this happening? They want to know why it's happening to them.
Mm-hmm.
So he answered, I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the land. This terrified them, and they asked, what have you done? They knew he was running away from the Lord because he had already told them so. The sea was getting rougher and rougher, so they asked him, what should we do to make the sea calm down for us? Pick me up and throw me into the sea, he replied, and it will become calm. I know that it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you. Instead, the men did their best to row back to land, but they could not, for the sea grew even wilder than before. Then they cried out to the Lord, O Lord, please do not let us die for taking this man's life. Do not hold us accountable for killing an innocent man, for you, O Lord, have done as you pleased. Then they took Jonah and threw him overboard, and the raging sea grew calm. At this, the men greatly feared the Lord, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and made vows to him. This is super interesting because just a few minutes ago when we were talking, it was all of the sailors on the ship, all of the people on the ship were praying to their own gods. And so this basically made them all recognize and pray to the Yahweh God and make sacrifices to him and make pledges and vows to him. And essentially, it doesn't say this, but it implies that they dismissed their belief in all other gods.
Well, that's a very astute observation there, honey, because Jonah is seen as a prefigure of Jesus.
Okay.
So I want to fast forward a little bit in the Bible to Mark 4:37 through 41.
Okay.
And you remember when Jesus like calms the sea and walks on water and shit?
Yeah.
That is modeled off of Jonah here, as well as other sections of the Old Testament, but Jonah plays a pretty big part. So here's Mark, starting at 4:37. A furious squall came up and the waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, Teacher, don't you care if we drown? He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, Quiet, be still. Then the wind died down and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples, Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? They were terrified and asked each other, Who is this? Even the wind and waves obey him. So it's very astute that you notice that, because in the original Greek versions of the Gospels, the verbiage here used to describe Jesus's calming of the sea is nearly identical to how Jonah does it. And it's not exactly sure if, whether or not Mark knows, the author of Mark,
right,
knows that he's getting this information from Psalms and Jonah. It's not exactly said specifically there, but if you go to Matthew 12:39, you know what we find?
What?
Matthew 12:39 through 40. He answered, A wicked and adulterous generation asks for a sign, but none will be given it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of a huge fish, so the Son of Man will be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth, which is, the fish is going to come up here in a second. But the point is that Jonah is deeply coupled with the concept of the miracles of Jesus.
Yes.
Calming of the seas and the walking on the water. For the walking...
And the resurrection.
Well, the resurrection with the 3 days and 3 nights. The walking on the water bit, which I'm bringing all this up now because we're kind of at this point with the calming of the seas and everything like that. In the 2nd century, there were Buddhist missionaries in Syria and Egypt that were talking about a certain story of a disciple of Buddha, or a follower of Buddha or whatnot, that was needing to cross a river to get to Buddha, and he walks on water. So there's already myths about having that kind of control over water as it's concerned with their respective deity. Job 9:8 and Psalm 106 also give us an indication as to Jesus's power over water. So This whole power over water thing is just very relevant here with Jonah. And then we're about to get into the fish.
Yeah. So we are at the point where the men threw him over and then sacrificed to the Lord and made vows. But the Lord provided a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was inside the fish 3 days and 3 nights. From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to the Lord his God, and he said, "In my distress I called to the Lord, and he answered me. From the depths of the grave I call for help, and you listened to my cry. You hurled me into the deep, into the very heart of the seas, and the currents swirled about me. All of your waves and breakers swept over me. I said, I have been banished from your sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The engulfing waters threatened me, the deep surrounded me, seaweed was wrapped around my head. The roots of the mountains I sank down, the earth beneath barred me in forever. But you brought my life up from the pit, O Lord my God. When my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, Lord, and my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple. Those who cling to worthless idols forfeit the grace that could be theirs, but I, with the song of thanksgiving, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will make good. Salvation comes from the Lord."
Right. So, of course, the fact that he does pray is where the Gethsemane, like the Garden of Gethsemane prayer, like that's why he goes and prays. But the gospel authors actually got the content of the prayer from different sections of the Old Testament, which we'll get to whenever we get to the New Testament. But the whole 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the fish, obviously, Matthew definitely ties it, to Jonah and the prophet of Jonah. Mark doesn't necessarily know that he's getting that from Jonah or the Psalms, but Matthew explicitly puts it in here that it's because of Jonah that we know that Jesus supposedly was, in the earth or whatnot, in the heart of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights.
Well, it's funny because they use some similar language here, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so the depths of the grave, right? It says he's in a grave, even though he's in the water. It says, you hurled me into the deep, into the very heart of the seas. And here it talks about Jesus being in the heart of the earth. Mm-hmm. It talks about how his head is wrapped in seaweed. Jesus's head was wrapped, right? Mm-hmm. So, there's some interesting things that you see in these. And
it's not a lot of people don't understand whenever you point out parallels. It's no one parallel makes it interesting. It could be a coincidence, but the fact that we have similar, if not the exact same language in some portions, several times in the same order and all that is what makes it even more probable that they use the Old Testament. Not to mention the fact that Matthew directly says where he gets this information from.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so this was, let's see, he prayed to the Lord. Okay. And the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land.
That's because he was a bigot.
Then the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time. Go to the great city of Nineveh and proclaim to it the message I give you.
See, I always envisioned Jesus coming up to him being like, boy, get your ass up. Go to fucking Nineveh like I told you.
The first time. So, of course, after everything that happened, Jonah obeyed the word of the Lord and went to Nineveh. Now, Nineveh was a very important city. A visit required 3 days. So this has been a visit required 3 days. So it's interesting because this has been actually a little bit of controversy in Christian circles amongst other people too, because people were saying, why does it take 3 days for Nineveh? The archaeological evidence for the city of Nineveh shows that it's only about 8 square miles. Mm-hmm. So you definitely don't need 3 days.
Right.
To go around Nineveh. the apologist argument is that the city of Nineveh isn't just a city, it's all surrounding areas. So, like, but there's nothing there. It's in modern day Iraq, which is the middle of the fucking desert. So, like, anyway, it was a city that existed.
Mm-hmm.
It was not very big, right? Okay, so it took 3 days. On the first day, Jonah started into the city. He proclaimed 40 more days and Nineveh will be overturned.
Oh, that lovely number 40. So just to explain a little bit here, basically at this point in time, whenever there was just like a long, ambiguous period of time,
Yeah.
they would say 40 days.
Yes.
Just like with the reign of Noah, 40 days and 40 nights, it's just rained for a long time.
Yeah. And
then the 40 years in the desert, that they roamed for 40 years, just really long fucking time.
Yeah. So when they say overturned, he means destroyed. Just
fucked up. Read that as he fucked it up.
Yeah, God was going to destroy the city. Okay. So the Ninevites believed God. They declared a fast, and all of them, from the greatest to the least, put on sackcloth.
I just imagine it, and it's like, oh shit, he says that God's gonna destroy us. All right, everybody, don't eat a thing. Change into your potato clothes.
Well, one of the other interesting arguments about this is that where he comes from, where Jonah travels from to get to here, they speak different languages, and so like Jonah speaks Hebrew or whatever, like he's from an area that's in Israel area, and this is in Iraq. They speak different languages. So one of the arguments that people have against this possibly being real in history is that there's no way that a person from this area would go to that area and be able to convince an entire city of anything. Especially given that they speak different languages. Well, now, could he have possibly known that language? Sure, I guess.
I mean, maybe if he was a trader, I don't know, because I mean, I would assume that traders would be fluent in different languages, but
I would assume so.
I don't get the implication that Jonah is the traveling type.
Well, I mean, he was gonna go to Spain, right? So. When the news reached the king of Nineveh, he rose from his throne, took off his royal robes, covered himself with sackcloth, and sat down in the dust. Then he issued a proclamation in Nineveh. By the decree of the king and his nobles, do not lay any man or beast, do not let any man or beast, herd or flock, taste anything. Do not let them eat or drink. But let man and beast be covered with sackcloth. Let everyone call urgently on God. Let them give up their evil ways and their violence. Who knows, God may yet relent with compassion, turn from his fierce anger, so that we will not perish.
Can you just imagine the cows and shit walking around in potato clothes?
Well, the cows don't have to wear clothes.
He said put the...
People.
No, he said put the animals in the sackcloth.
Oh yeah, let man and beast be covered with sackcloth. Yeah.
Yeah. So he dressed the cows and the chickens and everything. The goats. I mean, can you imagine how confused the goat would have been? Like, why the fuck am I wearing this? I was rolling around in the mud 3 seconds ago.
So here's the deal. When God saw that what they did and how they turned from their evil ways, he had compassion and did not bring upon them the destruction he had threatened. But Jonah was greatly displeased and became angry. He prayed to the Lord, "O Lord, is this not what I said when I was still at home? That is why I was so quick to flee to Tarshish. I knew that you are gracious and compassionate God, slow to anger and abounding in love, a God who relents from sending calamity. Now, O Lord, take away my life, for it is better for me to live than to die."
Wait, so...
Sorry. It's better for me to die than to live. Yeah, that's my bad.
So, I mean, what is he talking about, this whole slow to anger thing?
I don't
God
really know.
gets pretty fucking angry quick, doesn't he?
Yes.
I mean, he got really angry really quick when that one dude pulled out of his brother's wife, his dead brother's wife, and came on the floor. He got really angry when that one guy tried to catch the ark from falling.
Yeah, he gets super angry a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he not just that he gets angry a lot, he gets angry quick.
Yes. So I don't understand this. The one of Aaron's sons used the wrong fucking fire for the incense. Poof, bitch, be dead. And so it's just like, this is a narrative that the Bible wants to construct, that God is slow to anger and rich in kindness. And that is just not true.
It is definitely not true.
That is not evidence in the Bible. Like, there's not evidence for that in the Bible. So, Jonah like has himself a little meltdown because he went all the way there and he's like, but you were going to fucking destroy the city. Now you're not going to destroy the city. I just fucking came here for nothing. Kill me now. Right. And so the Lord replied, have you any right to be angry? So Jonah went out and sat down at a place east of the city. There he made himself a shelter and sat in its shade and waited to see what would happen to the city. Then
hold on, can you just imagine him in like a makeshift sort of like shack, and he's got a lawn chair out there just looking at the city of Nineveh and on his
glaring
porch,
at it all pissed off,
and he's like drinking a beer just every day, just sitting out there drinking a beer every single day, like just waiting for God to fuck that city up.
Yeah. So then the Lord, and remember, we're in what's modern day Iraq, right? It's hot there, right? So the Lord God provided a vine and made it grow up over Jonah to give shade for his head to ease his discomfort. And Jonah was very happy about the vine. But at dawn the next day, God provided a worm, which chewed the vine so it withered. When the sun rose, God provided a scorching east wind, and the sun blazed on Jonah's head so that he grew faint. He wanted to die and said, it would be better for me to die than to live. But
another dramatic moment.
Yes. But God said to Jonah, do you have any right to be angry about the vine? I do, he said. I'm angry enough to die. God.
Have you ever been that angry? It's like, God damn it, I'm so fucking pissed off I could die right now. Probably through an aneurysm, I guess.
I don't know. But the Lord said, you have been concerned about this vine, though you did not tend it or make it grow. It sprang up overnight and died overnight. But Nineveh has more than 120,000 people who cannot tell their right hand from their left, and many cattle as well. Should I not be concerned about that great city?
Okay, so I don't know. I'm having trouble with this particular. I would call it a parable. This part of Jonah that's a parable here, because I understand the significance of the vine, because it's like, you know, this thing just sort of started overnight and you didn't do anything to help it grow or anything like that, and it withered away just as. I mean, this is similar to any kind of thing that like springs up really quick and it'll die really quick too, like a social movement or somebody's faith, which I think is what it's trying to talk about.
No, it's trying to teach Jonah compassion. Like, you had compassion for this vine that sprung up overnight and withered overnight. You know, you didn't do anything to help it grow, but it was there and you found comfort in it, right? Mm-hmm. But you care nothing about this city of 120,000 idiots, apparently, who can't tell their right hand from their left hand. So you don't care about 120,000 people and you want me to destroy them. You have no compassion for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, other than pointing out compassion, what is that the only point of this?
Yes. So far as I can tell, that's the only point of it.
Don't be a heartless sumbitch.
Pretty
Moral
much.
of the story.
Yeah. So that's all for the book of Jonah. But we have a little bit more, just a little. And this is going to take us back into our story of Israel and Judah that we have going on with the kings and whatever. So last time, if you recall, and I have to go back too. Let's see. Last time We have Amaziah setting up idols. Judah, and Amaziah is the king of Judah. Well, was. He and Israel got into a fight, right? Him and Jehoash. They fought and faced each other, and Israel won, right? Jehoash dies, and Jeroboam II, who's a son of Jehoash, becomes king.
Jerry Jr.
He becomes king, does evil in the eyes of the Lord, doesn't correct what his family has fucked up this whole damn time. So that's where we ended last time. So we're going back to Israel now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind, Israel just beat Judah
with a baseball bat
in a battle.
Oh,
so
probably baseball bats.
What they're going to do is they're going to restore Israel into one. We're not going to have it split anymore, right? Supposedly.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Lord provided a deliverer for Israel. Oh, so I'm so sorry. We're in 2 Kings chapter 13, and we're going to do verses chapter 13 verse 5 and 6, and then also chapter 14 25 and 27. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the Lord provided a deliverer for Israel, and they escaped from the power of Aram. So the Israelites lived in their own homes as they had before. He, talking about Jeroboam II, was the one who restored the boundaries of Israel from Lebo Hamath to the Sea of Arabah, in accordance with the word of the Lord, the God of Israel, spoken through his servant Jonah, the prophet from Gath Hepher. The Lord had seen how bitterly everyone in Israel, whether slave or free, was suffering. There was no one to help them, and since the Lord had said he would not blot out the name of Israel from under heaven, he saved them by the hand of Jeroboam, son of Jehoash. But they did not turn away from sin in the house of Jeroboam, which he had caused Israel to commit. They continued in them. Also, the Asherah pole remained standing in Samaria. So that's actually all for today. I know it's kind of a weird place to stop, but that's where the book has us stopping for now. So
Jonah ended with a lesson on compassion?
Yes.
Like, you should be compassionate for a bunch of dumb fucks in a city and not a shade grown by a vine?
No, he was saying you have compassion for this vine, but you don't have compassion for these people.
But you see, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like morally behind or something, because I would just be like, I would look at, I guess it's Jesus that's talking to him. I look at Jesus and look at the city, look at Jesus. Yeah.
The vine was doing something for me.
Well, I mean, because it's like, you care. Why can't you? Like, I know that Jonah was wanting that place to be destroyed, and I don't know why he was wanting it.
I don't think he necessarily wanted the place to be destroyed. What he wanted was to stay the fuck at home. And he was pissed because he went all the way there to warn them and didn't get to watch, like, the city didn't end up getting destroyed.
Right.
But the point of him going was to warn them.
Mm-hmm.
And they saw the error of their ways and repented, and the city was saved, and all of those 120,000 people were saved. And Jonah, I guess, was mad because he just assumed that he would go and in 40 days he would watch the city get destroyed. But that's not what happened. And so I guess God is trying to teach him, like, compassion for these people. Like, you made this journey and saved all these people. These people ended up being saved.
Well, you know, I can totally understand how this is seen as a prefigure of Jesus, because originally, as far as Mark goes, like the earliest interpretation of this Jesus Christ figure, mm-hmm. He makes a journey basically from the highest levels of heaven, right? Mm-hmm. And he supposedly comes to earth, and he takes on a human form at the baptism of the human version of Jesus or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he delivers a message to the Israelites, or the Jews, I mm-hmm. guess. And, he provides them with salvation. He saves them. Mm-hmm. And then he returns to his life, I guess. But he returns to heaven. But I see how this is a prefigure. I also see how this would play into the general themes that we see with Jesus, because generally with Jesus, he is better, bigger, stronger of a prophet than all of the other previous prophets.
Sure, right.
So Jesus would already understand the compassion. He would already know, to be compassionate for, all those people and everything like that. Like he would be a better prophet than Jonah was. And that's exactly what we see when we compare the two figures.
Right. So next episode, we are going to actually be going through the book of Hosea.
Hosea!
Mm-hmm. Let's see, how much of this? Oh, there we go. Okay, so we're gonna go through the first 3 chapters of Hosea. It looks like next time, and so we're gonna get the story of Hosea and talk about his family, the hope for the future. There's gonna be a lot of declarations by the Lord. And we're gonna talk about anger against his wife. We're gonna talk about forgiveness and acceptance, and Israel's redemption a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that.
So anyway, that's what we're doing next time.
Okay.
And that was the Book of Jonah.
Book of Jonah. I hope that you guys I hope you guys are better informed about Jonah now that you know the entire story. Obviously, I got whatever kind of parable that was supposed to be there at the end wrong. Because it was about compassion and not about like faith and shit.
Yeah, it wasn't really about faith. I mean, obviously the people who were being redeemed, right? They were repenting. They were turning to God and stopping their evil ways in this city.
I think that one of the important bits of that is that, Jonah had faith in God, and that faith in God convinced people.
Well, I mean, he told them what the message was.
Well, right.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, he had to have faith in God in order for that.
Well, sure. I mean, God kept him alive in the belly of a fish, right?
Yeah.
Saved him from the bottom of the ocean.
Mm-hmm. He suckled on those God teats. Anyways, heathens, I hope that you enjoyed this podcast, this little look into the Bible. If you did, please let us know down in the comments below.
Don't forget to stand up and use your voice.
Bye, heathens.
Bye, y'all.